The rain pounded against the windshield like angry fists as 17-year-old Scott Thompson stared out at the blurring highway lines. His parents' minivan screeched to a halt on the shoulder of Interstate 95, somewhere between Baltimore and Philadelphia, and before he could process what was happening, his father yanked open the back door and shoved him out into the storm. "You're no son of mine," his dad growled, tossing Scott's backpack after him as his mother sobbed silently in the passenger seat, refusing to meet his eyes. Scott hit the gravel hard, the cold water soaking through his jeans instantly. He scrambled to his feet, pounding on the van's window, screaming for them to stop, but the engine revved, and they sped away, leaving him alone with the roar of passing trucks and the weight of betrayal crushing his chest. That night, under a flickering streetlight at a deserted rest stop, Scott huddled against his backpack, tears mixing with rain, wondering how a simple confession, "I'm gay," could shatter his world so completely. It had started innocently enough, or so Scott thought. Growing up in a conservative suburb of Maryland, he had always known he was different. While his friends chased after girls at school dances, Scott found himself drawn to the quiet strength of his classmate, Ryan, whose easy smile made his heart race in ways he couldn't explain. But he buried it deep, playing the part of the perfect son. Straight-A student, captain of the debate team, volunteer at the local church his family attended every Sunday. The pressure built like a storm cloud. His parents, devout and traditional, often spoke of family values, quoting Bible verses at dinner about marriage between a man and a woman. Scott's older sister, Emily, had married young and started a family, the picture of what they expected. But Scott couldn't pretend forever. On his 17th birthday, after a family dinner where his dad toasted to finding the right girl someday, Scott couldn't hold it in. He came out, his voice trembling, hoping for understanding. The reaction was swift and brutal. His father exploded, calling it a phase, a sin, something to be prayed away. His mother wept, blaming herself for not raising him right. They dragged him to their pastor the next day, who recommended conversion therapy camps. Scott refused, standing his ground for the first time. "This is who I am," he said, but it only fueled the fire. Whispers turned to shouts, and within days they packed his things and drove him out of state, abandoning him like unwanted baggage. Shivering in the rain, Scott pulled out his phone, battery at 10%, and called the only person he could think of, his Aunt Linda, his mother's estranged sister who lived in New York City. She had left the family years ago after coming out as lesbian, a scandal his parents never forgave. "Aunt Linda? Scott, they left me." Her voice was steady, reassuring. "Stay put, kid. I'm coming for you." Hours later, Linda's beat-up sedan pulled up, and she enveloped him in a hug that smelled of coffee and freedom. "You're safe now," she whispered. On the drive to her tiny apartment in Brooklyn, she didn't lecture or pity him. She just listened as he poured out his story. Linda, a graphic designer in her 40s, had built a life far from the judgmental eyes of their family. She offered him her couch, helped him enroll in a local high school, and introduced him to a support group for LGBTQ youth. Scott threw himself into his new life with a determination born of pain. School became his anchor. He excelled in classes, joined the GSA club, and made friends who accepted him without question. It was there he met Jordan, a soft-spoken artist with curly hair and a laugh that lit up the room. Jordan was openly gay, confident in a way Scott envied. They started as friends, sharing sketches and stories late into the night at Linda's apartment. One evening, as they walked through Prospect Park, Jordan took Scott's hand. "You don't have to hide anymore," he said. Scott's heart pounded, but this time with hope, not fear. Their first kiss under the autumn leaves felt like coming home. But even as joy bloomed, shadows lingered. Scott couldn't shake the abandonment, the way his parents had discarded him like yesterday's news. He vowed to prove them wrong, to succeed on his own terms. Graduating high school with honors, Scott earned a scholarship to NYU, majoring in business with a minor in social justice. Linda beamed with pride at his ceremony, the only family there. Jordan, now his boyfriend, cheered loudest. "You're unstoppable," he said. But success brought complications. As Scott interned at a tech startup, his innovative ideas caught attention, leading to a full-time job after college. He rose quickly, developing apps that connected LGBTQ communities with resources. By 25, Scott had founded his own company, Safe Haven Networks, a platform for queer youth facing homelessness. It exploded in popularity, securing funding from major investors. Articles in Forbes and the New York Times hailed him as a young entrepreneur changing lives. Yet, with fame came the inevitable. His story leaked. Reporters dug up the abandonment, turning it into a headline-grabbing tale of resilience. That's when the calls started. First, from Emily, his sister. Scott, Mom and Dad saw the article. They're so proud. Proud? The word twisted like a knife. Then, his mother, voice quivering. We've missed you. Come home. Scott hung up, anger boiling. How dare they? After years of silence, now they wanted in on his glory? Scott stared at his phone, the missed call from his mother's number glowing like an accusation. It had been 8 years since that rainy night on the highway, and in that time he had rebuilt himself from the ground up. Safe Haven Networks was thriving, with offices in New York and San Francisco, employing dozens and helping thousands. Jordan, now his partner of 6 years, shared a cozy brownstone with him in Brooklyn. Their life a tapestry of love, work, and quiet evenings cooking together. But the family's sudden interest gnawed at him. He confided in Jordan over dinner one night, the aroma of pasta filling the air. They abandoned me, Jord. Now they want credit for my success. Jordan set down his fork, his brown eyes steady. You don't owe them anything. But maybe confronting them could give you closure. The idea simmered. Scott threw himself into work, expanding Safe Haven to include mental health resources, drawing from his own experiences. He spoke at conferences, sharing his story to inspire others, always omitting the family's return. That was too raw. Yet, the emails piled up. From his father, stiff and formal, congratulating him on overcoming challenges. From Emily, inviting him to her son's birthday, as if nothing had happened. Society's gaze added fuel. In interviews, Scott faced questions about forgiveness. Don't you think family deserves a second chance? One reporter asked. It sparked debates online. Some praised his resilience. Others accused him of bitterness. Scott wrestled with it, his choices defining him. He chose authenticity, using his platform to advocate for queer rights, marching in pride parades with Jordan by his side. One crisp fall day, Scott agreed to meet Emily at a neutral cafe in Manhattan. She arrived looking older, lines of worry etching her face. Scott, you've done amazing things, she said, tears welling. Mom and Dad, they regret it. Dad's health isn't great. They want to make amends. Scott sipped his coffee, masking the storm inside. Regret? They left me on the side of the road like trash because I'm gay. Where was the regret when I was sleeping on Aunt Linda's couch, scraping by? Emily flinched. They were scared, influenced by the church. But they've changed. Dad even left the congregation after seeing your success. They brag about you now. Brag. Scott's voice rose. They want credit for raising a successful son, but they didn't raise me after 17. I raised myself. The conversation ended tensely, Emily pleading for a family reunion. Scott left feeling conflicted, the weight of societal expectations pressing down. Was forgiveness mandatory, or was protecting his peace more important? Back home, Jordan held him as he vented. Your choice, love, but don't let them dim your light. Their relationship, built on mutual respect, was Scott's anchor. Jordan, an up-and-coming gallery artist, understood rejection. His own family had disowned him years ago. Together, they navigated the complexities, attending therapy to process trauma. As Safe Haven grew, so did the controversies. A conservative group launched a smear campaign, calling the app indoctrination for kids. Scott fought back in court, winning a defamation suit that bolstered his reputation. But it attracted more attention from his family. His father wrote a letter. Son, I followed your journey. I'm proud of the man you've become. Let's put the past behind us. Proud? The hypocrisy burned. Scott debated responding, his emotions a whirlwind. He confided in Linda, who advised caution. They didn't support you when it mattered. Don't let guilt pull you back. The turning point came at a gala for LGBTQ rights. Scott was honored with an award, his speech moving the crowd to tears as he recounted his abandonment and rise. In the audience, unbeknownst to him, sat Emily and his parents. Afterward, they approached, his mother clutching a tissue. "Scott, that was beautiful," she said. His father extended a hand. "We've made mistakes, but blood is thicker than water." Scott stepped back. "Blood didn't keep you from abandoning me. My success is mine, not yours to claim." The encounter went viral, captured on video. Public opinion split. Some hailed Scott for standing firm. Others criticized him for unforgiveness, sparking heated debates on family, forgiveness, and queer rights. Scott felt the pressure, questioning his choices. Had he been too harsh? Jordan reassured him that night. "You protected your heart. That's strength, not weakness." Their love deepened amid the chaos, a testament to choosing each other daily. Yet, the family's persistence escalated. Emily called, accusing him of selfishness. "Dad's had a heart scare. He wants to see you before it's too late." Guilt crept in, clashing with resentment. Scott faced a crossroads. Reconcile or sever ties forever. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret as Scott stood in the doorway, his heart pounding. It had been 2 weeks since Emily's frantic call about their father's heart attack. Against Jordan's gentle warnings, Scott had driven to Maryland, the familiar suburbs stirring memories he'd long buried. Now, seeing his father pale against the white sheets, tubes snaking from his arms, a wave of conflicting emotions crashed over him. "Scott," his mother whispered, rising to hug him awkwardly. Emily nodded from the corner, her eyes red-rimmed. His father opened his eyes, managing a weak smile. "You came." Scott nodded stiffly, taking a seat. Emily said it was serious. The conversation tiptoed around the elephant in the room, focusing on doctors' reports and recovery plans. But as visiting hours waned, his father cleared his throat. "Son, I've been thinking a lot about that night. I was wrong. Fear made me blind." The words hung heavy. Scott's throat tightened. "Wrong? You left me to fend for myself because of who I love." His voice cracked, years of pain surfacing. His mother interjected, "We've prayed, Scott. The church was wrong too. We see that now, especially with your success showing us the way." "Showing you?" Scott stood, anger flaring. "My success isn't a lesson for you. It's what I built despite you." The argument escalated, voices echoing in the sterile room. Emily tried to mediate. "We're family. Can't we start over?" But Scott saw the truth. They wanted absolution, to rewrite history where they were the heroes who raised a successful man, ignoring the abandonment. Leaving the hospital, Scott drove aimlessly, tears blurring the road. He called Jordan, who listened patiently. "Come home, babe. We'll figure it out." Back in Brooklyn, they talked late into the night, dissecting the visit. Jordan shared his own story of attempted reconciliation with his family, which ended in more hurt. Sometimes, boundaries are love too. Inspired, Scott channeled the turmoil into his work. Safe Haven launched a new campaign, Chosen Families, highlighting stories of queer individuals building support networks beyond blood. It resonated globally, but locally, it stirred more conflict. His parents, recovering at home, reached out via media, granting an interview to a local paper. "Our son's journey taught us acceptance," his father said. "We're proud parents." The article exploded, painting them as reformed, while glossing over the abandonment. Scott's inbox flooded with messages. Supporters outraged, critics calling him ungrateful. Social media debates raged. Is blood obligation eternal? Or do actions sever ties? Scott responded with a public statement. "True change requires accountability, not credit." It went viral, positioning him as a voice for queer autonomy. But privately, doubt gnawed. At a therapy session, he explored forgiveness, not for them but for himself. "Holding anger hurts me," he admitted. Jordan supported him, their relationship a safe harbor. They celebrated small victories. Jordan's first solo art show, featuring pieces inspired by Scott's story. One painting depicted a lone figure on a highway, transforming into a soaring bird, symbolizing resilience. Yet, the family's greed persisted. Emily emailed about a family memoir, suggesting Scott contribute. "It could heal us all." Scott saw it for what it was, profiting off his pain. He declined, but the rejection sparked backlash. Relatives he hadn't spoken to in years chimed in, accusing him of tearing the family apart. The climax built at Thanksgiving. Invited to Emily's house, Scott attended with Jordan, testing waters. The dinner started cordially, but tension simmered. His father, healthier now, raised a glass. "To Scott, our successful son." Murmurs of agreement followed. Scott set down his fork. "Successful because of you? Or despite you?" The table erupted. His mother defended. "We gave you a good start." Scott countered with facts. The abandonment, the silence, the sudden pride only after fame. Jordan squeezed his hand under the table, a silent ally. As accusations flew, Scott called selfish, his parents victims of modern cancel culture. He realized the divide was unbridgeable. They wanted the glory without the guilt. Leaving early, Scott felt a strange peace. "That's not my family anymore," he told Jordan on the drive home. "You are. Linda is. My community is." The incident fueled more public discourse, with op-eds debating parental rights versus child autonomy in queer contexts. Scott's story became a case study in sociology classes, highlighting societal shifts. But healing wasn't linear. Nightmares of that rainy night returned, and Scott leaned on Jordan, their bond strengthening through vulnerability. They discussed future, marriage, perhaps kids, choices once unimaginable. As winter set in, Scott received a letter from his father. An apology, unvarnished, no claims to credit. "I failed you. No excuses." It was a crack in the armor, but Scott pondered if it was enough. Spring brought renewal, but for Scott, it ushered in deeper introspection. The letter from his father sat on his desk like an unsolved puzzle. Jordan encouraged him to respond if he wanted, but not out of obligation. "Your peace comes first," he said, kissing Scott's forehead. Safe Haven's growth mirrored Scott's evolution. The company partnered with national organizations, hosting workshops on family reconciliation for queer youth. Scott led one session, sharing cautiously, "Forgiveness is personal. It's not owed." Attendees nodded, their stories echoing his. Abandonment, resilience, complex emotions. Publicly, the debates continued. A podcast invited Scott to discuss toxic family dynamics in the LGBTQ community. He accepted, articulating the nuance. "Society pressures us to forgive, but what about accountability? My parents want credit for my success, but they rejected me for being gay." The episode sparked controversy. Conservative commentators labeled him unforgiving, while progressive voices praised his boundaries. One viral tweet read, "Scott Thompson is right. Blood doesn't excuse bigotry." It divided opinions, mirroring broader societal clashes on tradition versus progress. Privately, Scott and Jordan planned their wedding, a small affair in Central Park. Linda walked Scott down the aisle, her presence a full-circle moment. Vows exchanged under blooming cherry blossoms. They promised to choose each other daily, flaws and all. The joy contrasted sharply with family drama, a reminder of chosen love's power. But the past intruded. Emily texted congratulations, then added, "Mom and Dad wish they could be there." Scott ignored it, focusing on the celebration. Honeymoon in Hawaii, they basked in serenity, discussing adoption. "We'll build the family we deserved," Jordan said. Returning, Scott found a package. Family photos from his childhood, sent by his mother with a note. "Remember the good times." It stirred nostalgia, but also pain. He showed Jordan, who suggested a meeting on neutral ground. They chose a park in New Jersey Midway. His parents arrived looking frail. No bravado this time. His father spoke first. "We don't deserve your success. We just miss our son." Scott listened, emotions swirling. "Missing me now after years? When I was struggling. Where were you?" His mother cried. "We were wrong. The church poisoned us. Seeing you thrive, it opened our eyes." The conversation delved deep, admissions of regret, questions about Jordan, tentative steps toward understanding. Scott shared his life, the love he'd found, the impact he'd made. For the first time, they listened without judgment. But trust was fragile. When his father mentioned telling our story together, Scott shut it down. "My story isn't yours to co-opt." They parted with hugs, a fragile truce, but no promises. The encounter shifted something in Scott. He felt lighter, not fully forgiven, but released from constant anger. Therapy helped process it. Progress, not perfection. Safe Haven benefited, launching a reconciliation program with guidelines for accountability. It helped families navigate similar rifts, emphasizing mutual respect. Yet, controversies arose. A relative leaked details of the meeting to tabloids, spinning it as family reunion. Headlines blared, "Abandoned gay son forgives parents." Scott clarified in a statement, "It's ongoing, not resolved. Don't romanticize pain." The backlash was swift, accusations of exploiting the story for publicity. Scott weathered it, supported by Jordan and Linda. Their home became a hub for friends, a chosen family thriving on authenticity. As summer approached, Scott reflected on his journey. From roadside abandonment to entrepreneurial success, his choices defined him. The family's claim to credit had forced him to confront boundaries, sparking personal growth. One evening, walking with Jordan, hand in hand, Scott said, "I wouldn't change it. It made me who I am." Jordan smiled. "And I love who you are." The piece was hard-won, but real. Society's debates continued, but Scott focused inward, building a legacy of empowerment. Years blurred into a tapestry of triumphs and trials as Scott approached his 30s. Safe Haven had become a household name, with apps downloaded millions of times and branches in Europe. Scott and Jordan adopted a baby girl, Mia, her giggles filling their home with unfiltered joy. Linda doted as grandma, her bond with Scott unbreakable. The family relationship evolved slowly. Occasional calls turned to visits, guarded at first, then warmer. His parents met Mia, their eyes lighting up. "She's beautiful," his mother said, holding back tears. His father played peekaboo, a far cry from the man who'd abandoned him. But old wounds surfaced. At a family gathering, Emily boasted to guests, "Scott's success runs in the family." Scott pulled her aside. "No, it doesn't. I succeeded because I had to." She apologized, but it highlighted lingering issues, the temptation to claim vicarious glory. Society watched closely. Scott's memoir, Roadside to Resilience, topped bestseller lists, detailing his story without sugarcoating. Reviews praised its honesty, but critics from conservative circles called it divisive. Debates ensued. Does success obligate reconciliation? Scott engaged, speaking at TED Talks. "Choice is power. I choose boundaries that protect my family, the one I built." Jordan stood backstage, proud, their partnership a model of enduring love amid adversity. Conflicts persisted. When his father fell ill again, Scott visited, offering support without erasing history. "I forgive for my sake," he told Jordan later. "But I won't forget." Mia's first birthday brought everyone together, a tentative harmony. Laughter mixed with awkward silences, but progress was evident. His parents listened to stories of queer struggles, their views shifting. Yet, a final twist came via media. A documentary producer approached, wanting to feature the redemption arc. His parents eagerly agreed, but Scott hesitated. "It's not redemption if it's performative," he said. The project proceeded with caveats. Focus on accountability. During filming, raw emotions emerged. His father admitted on camera, "I was a coward." His mother added, "We don't deserve credit." It was cathartic, but sparked more controversy. Viewers debated if true change was possible. The film premiered to acclaim, humanizing the struggle. Scott's message resonated. Love isn't automatic. It's earned. Life settled into rhythm. Scott balanced work, family, advocacy. Jordan's art flourished, inspired by their story. Mia grew, surrounded by love. Reflecting on that rainy night, Scott marveled at his path. Abandoned, yet risen. Family's claim thwarted by his resolve. In the end, was it right for Scott to deny his biological family full credit for his success, even after their apologies?